You're
Have a Little Faith is the title of this piece. I've recently seen advertising for a new TV movie, Have a Little Faith. The movie is based on a book with the same name written a couple years ago by Mitch Albom. Most of you are probably familiar with the author. He also wrote Tuesdays with Morrie and The Five People You Meet in Heaven. I think Have a Little Faith is his best book yet and heartily recommend that you read it or watch the movie. Mitch Albom grew up in New Jersey and belonged to a synagogue there that had the same rabbi, Albert Lewis, from 1948 until the rabbi died in 2009. Even though Mr. Albom left New Jersey and moved to Detroit, he never became a member of a Detroit synagogue. He maintained his membership in New Jersey and flew back there once each year for the high holidays. On one of those trips, the rabbi, then 82 years old, made an unusual request of Mitch. He asked him to deliver his eulogy at his funeral. Mr. Albom agreed to it, but only on the condition that he spend some time with the rabbi and get to know him as a man, not just a man of God he'd always been in awe of and a little afraid of. The rabbi granted the request. Mr. Albom expected the process to take a few interviews, something he was quite capable of as a seasoned journalist. He would never have predicted that getting to know the rabbi was a process that would involve weekly visits for the next 8 years. Have a Little Faith details some of the delightful lessons he learned from the elderly rabbi before his death at age 90. Most of them are lessons we all need to learn. Perhaps the most important thing Mitch Albom learned from his old rabbi was the importance of being connected to other Jews, living and dead, to be connected to a congregation. Rabbi Lewis described a Jewish congregation as a Kehillah Kadosha, a sacred community. Mr. Albom had discarded most of the rituals of our faith when he became an adult. He was a very busy citizen of the world and didn't feel he had the time or the need for them. At the same time, he envied the rabbi, the joy he seemed to find in his observance of our faith. As I read that, I thought about us. All of us have different levels of how strictly we observe the mandates of being Jewish, but most of us have become pretty lax about the business of being a Jew. And the more lax we become, the more isolated we become from other Jews. Think about it. What makes the holiday special is that we are all here together doing what we have done for 40, 50, maybe 60 years. We are engaged in doing the same things Jews were doing thousands of years ago. We are a Kehillah Kadosha for those few days, but what about the rest of the time? Our observance of our religion for the most part has been relegated to the few hours we spend here in our shul. The need for connection to other people is one of the most vital aspects of our humanity. But as we make what we call progress, we find ourselves more and more isolated. We have email, text messaging, mobile phones, so we don't ever have to be out of reach or out of touch, and Blackberries and smartphones to get our emails when, God forbid, we have to be away from our computers. Isn't it ironic in light of that we know less about each other than we did when communication depended on visits to the shul or conversations with neighbors on the back porch? While we may sometimes fall short of being able to describe ourselves as a Kehillah Kadosha, I do think we come closer to it than most congregations. Perhaps it is just because of our small size. But the people here truly do know and care about each other. If anyone ever doubted that, all they would have to do is come to one of our funerals. When we lose a member, the reaction and the feelings are the same for each one of us as if we had lost a member of our birth family. Prior obligations are set aside and we are all there together as far as we humanly can, one last time with the person we lost. We were all there a couple of weeks ago when we lost Beverly. But think back to the day of Mort's funeral. Weather-wise, it was one of the worst days I have ever ventured out of my house. But it never occurred to me to stay home. Going to his funeral wasn't that difficult for me because I only had to travel a few blocks in the cold and snow. But when I arrived at the funeral home, I discovered that every other member of the shul attended, no matter how far they had to travel to be there, because Mort was one of our family. and we couldn't not be there. That is Kehillah Kadosha. There is another lesson Rabbi Lewis taught Mitch Albom that is related and have a little faith, and I think it is pertinent since last week was Thanksgiving. When Mr. Albom asked the Rebbe what the secret to happiness is, this is what he replied. The things society tells us we must have to be happy, a new this or that, a bigger house, a better job. I know the falsity of it. I have counseled many people who have all those things, and I can tell you they're not happy because of them. The number of marriages that have disintegrated when they had all the stuff in the world. The families who fought and argued all the time when they had money and health. Having more does not keep you from wanting more, and if you always want more, to be richer, more beautiful, more well-known, you are missing the bigger picture. And I can tell you from experience, happiness will never come. He concluded with his secret to happiness. Be satisfied. Be grateful for what you have, for the love you receive, and for what God has given you. That's it. In spite of some of the problems I have, I feel that my life has been truly blessed. I think the reason for that attitude is a bedtime ritual that I have. Each night when I go to bed, I go through the alphabet and think of something I am grateful for, starting with each of the 26 letters. The only rule of my game is I can't name the same things twice in 1 week. Granted, that could be a problem with Q, X, and Z, but I'm usually asleep before I get to them. In the years I have been doing this, I have discovered that the blessings I focus on every night far, far outweigh my trials and problems. We are approaching Hanukkah, the season for celebrating miracles. You might find that ignoring your troubles and counting your blessings will produce a few miracles in your own life that equal the ones you read about in Scripture. Try it.